Hello everybody and welcome. I am joined in the studio today by Jimmy from Shadowborne and of course the fabulous Gerry. And we're here today to have a bit of a chat about the artwork for Oathsworn, the game that you guys are creating, yeah? All right, so first question has to be, you've created a grimdark world. Can you sort of tell us what inspired this art style?
So we knew we wanted to have a grimdark world, something that was where there was a lot of feeling of threat, and there's this constant presence of fear around it. And so the Deepwood really gave us that, where we have this chaotic, grim forest where the trees are covered in all these horrible cysts, and it's no one knows where it came from. It's really the main antagonist of the game. And so we kind of we started off with just this idea of there being this giant woods, and then we gave it over to Dongbao Lu, one of our amazing artists. Now, we've been so blessed with our art team. We've got two twins who are just incredible. They learned to draw on the walls of their crib at the age of 3.
What?
Genuinely, they taught each other how to draw effectively, and they just they're both now world-class artists. Like Dongbao Lu, he works with Tencent as a senior artist, and Dongzhon, his brother, works over at Weta Workshop, and we've just been so thankful to get them to work on our game in between their stuff. And so we gave Dongbao this spec for this Deepwood, and he came up with this, and just immediately we were sold. Like, this is it. This is the world that we want to be living in, and it's just got all these great places for these monsters to be coming out of, and the free companies to be exploring.
See, I love the way it's been designed, because there's little flashes of color in here, but it's really desaturated. It feels like just a world that's been ground down, beat up, and you do not want to go down for a walk in the woods today. Yeah,
so you can see there's like the ruins of an ancient civilization just like spattered throughout the Deepwood. Like, there was signs that there was life once, but not anymore. It's even more horrific than if like it had never been there in the first place. It's you can see there's tragedy running through the whole thing, and you can feel that with the desaturation. You can feel this sense of just like this murky air, and it just feels like this oppressive, and there's a thickness to this forest as you're under the shadow of the canopy.
Yeah, no, you have given us an absolute ton of art to have a look at, because you guys are going all out on this, yeah?
Oh yeah, we've got quite a lot of art. It's been 3 years now making the art for this thing.
Wow. All right, Gerry, what else have we got there?
Well, after the delightful Deepwood, we have something a bit more colourful.
Yeah, so this is one of the cities. This is actually Verum, and what you're seeing here is actually the gutters where the old river used to be, but the Deepwood sucked it dry, and now the poorest of the poor live in these shacks in the bank of the old river. And this is the cities in this world are just pretty dark, terrible places as well. There's a bit of a question mark over which is better, being in the Deepwood or being in the cities, because life is cheap and there's just no space, and it's very, very close, and starvation and disease are rampant. And so, but we got these amazing cities, and you see up there, there's a palace up on the hill behind it, and you can see the old ships that used to be on the river, now just permanently moored by the lots of the river.
I'm sure we can convert that into some form of decent little tavern.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's like maybe a themed restaurant, perhaps, or something.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't really do a themed restaurant, because if the water's receding, I doubt if they're going to do much seafood in there.
No, sorry. None that you want to eat anyway.
If you're at the bottom of that, you're going to eat whatever you drag out of the river, I'm sure. I'm shocked there's a dog that's still walking around in there. It seems to have most of its legs intact as well. I really like the contrast between the sort of the palace on the hill under sunlight, and just everybody else is getting whatever sort of second-hand light they can manage to eke out as it just goes down into the slums.
Although I do like, on the left-hand side, we can see sort of a dark citadel there as well.
More of a dungeon than a citadel now. There's the home of the wardens, and where they will keep the people that are hunted by the Inquisition kind of end up in that place. You don't want to go there.
Wait, there's an Inquisition? Uh-oh.
Going grimdark, you need a good Inquisition.
Yeah, of course.
It's always a good sign, I feel. At least then you know you're safe. There's somebody looking out for you.
Except from the Inquisition.
No, but if you honest citizens have nothing to fear from the Inquisition.
And if it was me in that world, I would not be an honest citizen.
Oh, well, that's just you, though.
Yeah.
They always give the option of cake or death. It's fine. There's always an option.
Cake or death? Cake, please.
Ooh, character design now.
Yeah, so something that's been really was really core for what we wanted to do with the world. We wanted to make a whole new world. So we've got this new place with the Deepwood and the cities there, and we wanted to create a bunch of races that really echoed the world and that were new and something that hadn't really been done before. We didn't want to go sort of on the well-worn paths of dwarves and orcs and elves and create something new. And so we wanted to put a lot of time into that process of making not just an image of something, but a culture behind it and a real race that lives and breathes and is fully realized. And so part of this sort of process, it kind of begins with an idea for the race, but then what we found is as we spent time passing this backwards and forwards with our art team and things, you actually find the art team is just incredible at coming up with new ideas that then imply a cultural ramification that then kind of feeds back into the lore. And so you start off with a little bit of lore, like a little seed, and then you give it over to the art team, and they'll come up with these great, amazing ideas. So one of the things that was added here, for instance, was onto the bears was these tattoos that would run across their bodies and things, and that then works its way back into the lore. We knew we wanted to have these armored bears and start talking about it. Then it came down to the actual way that the art team would create the armor, then worked back into all these meteoric stones. That's the kind of the way you'd be able to make armor like that, and how they then carve those stones using these tools that they would create. And then it would work its way back into the ritual culture of these bears, the Ursus. What happens, and then we actually, out of this whole process, created one of the more interesting stories of the Ursus, which is this idea of their armor and their kind of the great hunt that they have, where I think if you go on to the next one, you might see a few more pictures with the armor, where they an Ursus when it's young starts off basically armorless. You can see up here basically no covering whatsoever, and they can gain their armor throughout their life by making new armor from this meteoric rock. But the way that they can earn that armor is only by these great hunts they go on. And so they're going they will join free companies. They won't join because they care about the humans or anything. They're joining for the hunt, because when they find that they fell a foe of adequate kind of strength, they gain some glory, they can actually write the story of that hunt on their armor. And it's only when they have that story, they carve it onto their armor and then add a new piece onto their armor plate. So the more armored you see a bear is, and you get down here, this guy's been through some stuff. And
he has a number 8 there.
That's it. Yeah. So you can see that it builds up over time. This is some wonderful concept work that our concept artist Vladimir did, and he was just kind of just feeling out stuff. So at the beginning, you don't want to just say this is exactly how your bear's going to look. You want to give it over to the art team so they can get their creativity in there, and just they come up with all different concepts, and we start honing in on a few particular things that we liked and enjoyed. Like, for instance, this one, we're thinking, okay, this one feels a bit too gladiatorial, right?
The number 6.
Yeah, so it kind of comes across with the chain and stuff like that, and the asymmetry of the pauldron. So we're like, okay, we want to bring it away from that, and we wanted to kind of lean into more Native American influences with this sort of tribal system they have, and so we were kind of starting to lean into. If we go to the next page, I think we've got some the page after, we've got a couple of weapons and things where we were leaning into this. So we had these things, some of these neck pieces and things like that. We were just wanting to kind of get some of that influence out. Then as well with the weapons, where we would have the sort of inspiration from things like tomahawks and stuff like that, just working out how their axes might work, because obviously they want a good big axe, big maces, stuff like that with these guys.
I'm loving the one with the bear's head actually worked into the top of basically the point where it connects with the haft. Very, very cool.
As you can see, like there's obviously lots more concept here than we need for a single character image, but this is kind of how you do it. You kind of build up this thing, so you've got this whole repertoire of this library archive of images that you can kind of delve into with different members of the race and how they work, and then you get that sense of progression. And as we move through that, it then bounces it from our concept team over to our finishing team, which is Dongjon, who does the character arts. He does an incredible job with it, where he takes it to the next level. So he then would do something like this. So this is our very first sort of rendered Ursus image that we had. And you see he starts working on the weapons, taking some of these influences that we were talking about before. And he's really working on this armor now. What does a bear look like when it's been around the block a few times? It's got some hunts under its belt, and they starts building out the hammers and things.
One of the things that's fascinating for me is you've got that combination of where you start out with the sort of Native American influence, which would be a very oral tradition in the main. You've got a lot of storytellers and that sort of thing, and the incorporation of that into their armor is fascinating. That tells the story of this particular warrior, hunter, whatever it happens to be. You're saying that's meteoric stone. because that leads back into your world where iron is a scarce or a protected commodity, a very expensive commodity. So it gives a whole other feeling. You're not just seeing somebody in massive plates, steel plates and shiny armor that you would see in other things. But you get these sort of various parts coming together to really tell what that world and what that race is, more so than a generic, it's another dwarf. He's going to be covered in whatever his favorite type of metal armor is, and that I love. That it starts with, we've got this influence, and then it branches into a whole other developed world.
You can imagine like two bears meeting each other, right? Because they're solitary beings, right?
Yeah.
They're nomadic. They travel around, and so you can see them meeting each other. And that idea of like, it's that thing that happens when animals meet, and it's a silent exchange, but there's an exchange, right? There's a transfer of information about that, and we wanted to kind of embody that, like two bears can meet each other, and they can, without saying anything, they can look at each other and know each other's life story. They know where they've gone. They know who they are. They know the tribal background. They know their ancestors, and there's something about that immediacy of translation. There's a whole language there, but obviously humans in this world, they can't read any of this, so they don't know all this is going on. But it's like little touches that are behind the scenes that kind of let us build this. How would this sort of nomadic, solitary like bear live its life, and where its value system is?
It also, maybe I'm reading more into this than I need to, but you get a pecking order then as well, because in the wild, I think grizzlies, certainly, possibly brown bears, but they don't fight for territory. They mark their territory, and if another bear wanders in, they attempt to match or exceed the marks that have been made on the trees and on the rocks in that area. And if they can, it's their home now. They're bigger. And if they can't, then they just move on. Right. So you don't get the sort of the alpha male fights that you would in wolf packs, and I like the idea that two warriors can meet. And you're so far beyond me. We don't even need to get into the grim. There's not any of this human mercenaries sort of scrapping amongst themselves to see who's top dog. You walk in there and you go, well, clearly, you are the important one in here. That's the sort of thing I like.
That, and if you have like a young, fresh warrior just rolling in, the older ones can see, youngster. And the youngster can look at it and go, okay, you're older, you're bigger, you've got all the armor. I'm not messing with you.
I really love the idea of like the blooded warrior. There's this kind of transition when you get your first piece of armor. That's like a real like becoming of age kind of thing there. And the other thing is like things that would knock on from this is stuff like the with the story of the armor being so important. Yeah. Suddenly concepts like lies become really valuable. Like key cultural things like, what is a lie in a culture where could you lie about a story? Could you write a piece of armor and make up a lie about it? And then it becomes that then becomes a huge taboo in this culture. Like the idea of lying becomes the cardinal sin, right? You lie about your story and who you are.
Or if one of these guys dies in battle and someone actually steals a piece of their armor, you're stealing a piece of their life, a piece of their story. So that could again be an incredible taboo. Yeah,
and so you've got all this rich stuff that you can then build stories out of. Like you got some soil there to grow something cool out of this this thing. But what's fascinating is that this is coming out of an interaction between design and art. It's the creative process bounces back, and these things are kind of emerging, which is lovely. It's like it's really cool that
it's
a lot of the story things come out of that.
Although the amount of design work you've thrown into it, I actually really love as well, because it means that if you ever come back to do an expansion and you want to do another Ursus, you have all of that earlier work to draw on to say, well, would he be from a different tribe? Could we change this up slightly? What would make this guy's individual story stand out?
Yeah, that's it. Because we knew we wanted to make a world that you could live in, and we say probably die in, right? Like this, with the Deepwood as it is. And we wanted to make something that could last decades, like with something that was really something that people could enjoy and get their head around, and just something that could be a passion for people, like it is for us, And we knew we had to go to this depth to do that, and it's been such a joy being able to kind of create these amazing races. I mean, and once we've done this render, we then kind of we talk backwards and forwards. We get some posing done, and we get ready for the actual thing that's going to be on the player boards, the thing that the players can actually see whenever they're playing the game.
So your sculpt. So I think I have that called up on the interwebs, Gerry, if you're clever. Gerry is clever.
We'll see that anyway.
Yeah. So this is the final sculpt that's going in the game then, yeah?
Yeah, so this is it's got some work to do, but this is a near finished like piece, and you can see here like the little changes you get from artwork inevitably is things like you get a load more detail on fine art than you ever will on a sculpt, and so there's things you kind of exaggerate. So you exaggerate some of the language of the stories of the on the on the armor pieces and things like that. We get to go for a really big scale. This is a big old model. This is on a 40 mil base, and it fills every single millimeter of that base and goes straight up. So this thing is like 9 feet tall. Well, it's huge. It's a beefy character.
Yeah, and are they all going to be coming on this scenic base that we're seeing here?
Yes, everyone. Yeah, so we because it just really adds that feeling. The Deepwood, everything is kind of set in that murky, muddy, rooty world.
Well, I'm loving it, Gerry. What do you think so far?
I have to say, just the way that the process of just taking something like what races are going to populate our world. Okay, we're going to have bear men. How do we make these unique and have that growing over time and get this really organic ideas bouncing back and forth? I absolutely adore. And at the end of it, you do get this vicious looking character that really, you get the feel that he's part of something. He's part of a world, part of a race that's quite unique in and of itself, especially when you see the sort of the lead up to it. You're seeing all these pieces sort of feeding into each other. Yeah, I think he's an adorable little bear. Just want to give him a tiny hat and a unicycle.
Although, here's a question for you then, Gerry. Let's say you were in this world, you were one of these guys, and you went out for your first hunt. Now, would you be given your weapon before you go out for your first hunt, or are you killing your first beastie with your bear claws?
Yeah, so the first one is literally bear. It's the bear claws. It's the bare necessities you got with you out there in that wood.
I hope you're happy with what you said there.
I am most overjoyed with it.
Yeah, so this is the final render. This is the culmination of all that work kind of comes out here, and you can see the different influences coming in. And so the way we've represented on the player board is kind of like a closer to kind of end game gear level, because we had to pick a level at which we wanted to represent it. And so this is all bear. This guy's been
all bear all the time.
Been through some stuff. That's it.
Yeah, I have hunted everything across every terrain. Come on, we have work to do.
That's it. You see this guy, don't mess with him.
Yeah.
So moving on then, there are not just bears though in this world.
No.
Ooh, what is this?
So this is one of our Adendri, the Adendri Ranger. So there's another race in the world that are kind of I suppose like derived from plants effectively, and they have a whole other culture, completely different, built up from the ground. Actually, I don't want to reveal too much. There's some cool story twists and stuff coming on that I don't want to ruin it for people. One thing I can say is that like just little things like this. For instance, the bow that you're seeing this ranger carrying is actually grown from her own body. She doesn't. There's a spiritual connection with the weapon here that is one where they actually don't apply their armor. They actually grow their own armor. They change as they, because they have that power. They don't need clothing. Clothing comes naturally for them as they grow, and so they can kind of will into existence certain parts of their bodies. And actually, at some point, they will break off a part of their body to become their weapon, and to actually grow their own arrows. And so whenever they kill something, they're giving a part of themselves to kill that thing. It's a very spiritual exchange, killing something as one of the rangers. But the Adendri, you see, it's got this amazing long hair that's growing out. Now this is very important.
Creepers.
That's it. Yeah. This is actually this is actually part of their communication. You might see that she's not got a mouth. So part of that is that they don't communicate as we would. They communicate through spores, and so they actually transmit spores from their hair. Females are particularly potent with the communication on that level, and they can actually communicate ideas and feelings and concepts through spores that interact. Human beings struggle with this, and so there's actually a language that's been created between the humans and the Adendri, which is something called the knock, which is like a hand communication, like a Makaton type thing. But yeah, this communication actually, the spores actually leads to the entire social hierarchy and structure is based on the power of these spores. Because imagine communication where you can actually will somebody to believe what you're saying. Like that's the power of spore. The power of the spores. So you have this society which is actually, you can actually control other Adendri with the power of the spores. As the things go, and the older they get, the more potent their spore transmission becomes. And another thing where some of the artwork process led back into culture led back into artwork, and it kind of built up over time.
Yeah, but it's something you're doing with this. Your players are going to be able to just run with those ideas, because you say you've got the seed. As soon as your players get a hold of this, they're going to start imagining, well, what would a 200-year-old Adendri look like? Would they just be like gigantic and just bound into the side of a mountain or would they be walking around like some titanic godlike creature?
Yeah, it's actually the males and females of the race. They actually do interact here. So females tend to stop growing at a certain point, and they become more potent. Males grow bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and and that actually tends to affect society, like the way that males no longer can go to turn up to parties and things like that. Like it's like, and it actually affects the way that they become more solitary beings again from society.
No, sorry, Gerry, you grew too tall. You're too tall to come into this party.
I think I haven't grown too tall, and I'm fairly certain Jamie agrees. I think you'll find we're the right height. That's right. Stunting.
No, but again, gorgeous work. I'm loving the feel and the flavor of the artwork. And then this is the one that you've chosen to put into the game then. This version, yes.
So this is one of the final renders there. And
I like again the fact that it's not just an elf. You know, it has this whole symbiosis with nature. And you're not just looking at another Legolas clone. You're not looking at everything is lovely tree singing elves. You've really gone to town with expanding and building a world that's unique and not just another Tolkien-esque clone to allow you to stand out in a market that is beset on all sides by Tolkien-esque clones. I just think it's adorable. Also, I really like the idea that they communicate by that sort of pheromone and spore type thing. Because that cut grass smell that everybody loves. Yeah, but that's actually grass screaming in pain. That's what it is. It's warning other blades of grass nearby that something is very bad and harmful.
I see.
And I imagine that's kind of what's going on there. That's why humans go, oh, that's nice. Whereas every Derry, is it? No. Whatever the race is called, is just running to the hills.
A Dendry.
Okay. Yeah. People go, oh, that's pleasant. That's nice. Just scampering as they flee the area.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, like that the levels of miscommunication you could have. This Adendry could be incredibly pissed off walking past a human, going, "Oh my god, that smells amazing," and it's just her walking past fuming about something.
That's it. The stronger the smell, the worse things are for you.
Well,
ooh, what do we got here?
There are some humans in the world, as you can see from the lovely artwork there, and up close and personal.
Yes, it's one of our Cistercian priests, so kind of fallen from the from grace a little bit, joined a free company, and as you can see, he's not a passive member of the free company. Everybody has to be dealing out the damage if they ever want to turn out enough to fell these foes. So he's got a brick on a stick,
massive beat stick.
That's it. Yeah, he's got that, and everyone goes to town when it comes to getting rid of these things, but. There's an entire story about we built religions for this. We built entire cultures out of that, the base concept, the highs and low churches, the ramifications of that. We ain't got time to get into today, but there's story stuff. There's stuff here where we get into some of why this man is fallen from grace and what's happened there.
I see. I do like the look of this because, whenever I think of a priest, I'm thinking someone who's hanging back very passively, just healing people, praying for people, passing out buffs. I love the fact that he looks like he could actually just take and lump you up the side of the head and you're going to feel it. I mean,
it really is a key game mechanic kind of thing. It's the idea that everybody is involved and everyone it's the way the actual way the dice mechanics works actually helps that everybody can do serious damage. And if the dice come out right, as Justin found out the other day, you can do some horrendous things with the combat, no matter what weapon you've got.
Our off-camera game, you can swing it as hard as you want, but the chances of you messing up by being quite so frenzied if you swing it as hard as you want can come back to bite you in the butt.
So this very priest yesterday crushed the head of a 12-ton rat with a single blow.
This was off camera.
And ruined our play session with this amazing...
Nothing. It was beautiful and magical and wonderful. And the rat... Now, this is something I will say I love. Just to very briefly touch on. The combat mechanics you guys have designed into the game, I absolutely adore because I swung for that rat as hard as I could. I did a massive amount of damage and then the rat went, no, I don't like that. I'm going to bite your face off. And it actually tried to bite my face off.
It did. The warden saved your life.
Yeah. Yes.
Be thankful for me. I do love things like the etching on the armor and that sort of thing. So you can see there on the knee braces, the sabatons, you've got all this really intricate sort of fretwork done there. And it does give that idea that it is a serviceable working set of armor, but it's a cut above what regular folk would have.
So the Cistercians, actually, one of a key part of their religion is this concept of perfection, absolute obsession with perfection, because that's next to godliness, and so it's part of this thing. And so they actually are as a culture they've always strived and pushed themselves to be the greatest alchemists, herbalists, stonemasons, and smiths as well. And so this is what nearly everything they have is a step above what other people do, because they put their whole self into that as an act of worship.
Yeah.
But you can see this guy has kind of fallen from favor just for all the damage that's in there then, because all the cloth pieces that are just tattered and torn from the hard life he's leading, scarring on the weapons, the armor, like even his holy tome that's strapped to his chest is looking a little bit worse for wear.
That's it. Yeah, there's a lot of rust there. He's spent a lot of time in the wet and murky Deepwood, and
Really nice, really nice. Next, Gerry, what else we got? Give me more.
We have a map.
Ooh.
Now, so this comes with a caveat. So this isn't actually a map from our game.
No.
This is actually a map of Brussels. So this is where we start with the city maps. If you've seen the game before, you might have noticed that we've got some beautiful cartographically drawn maps that you're actually navigating as part of the story mode of the game. And this is where they started life. So we found some actually just amazing. The Hebrew University of Jerusalem has these amazing maps from the 16th century that are now public domain that you can see. But they're incredible. This wandering troupe went around and drew all these medieval cities, and you can see all these basically all the way that the city structure. We actually wanted to make our cities have a feeling of genuine. They wanted to look feel like genuine ancient.
You wanted it to have a true layout.
Exactly, yeah. So we wanted to have the inner castle wall, the outer wall, like how are the roads laid out, how are rivers interacting with the city, like all that kind of thing.
Where's the waste pits?
Exactly, yeah. So so when we came to this, we wanted to start with the base and then kind of build out from that with our own stuff. So then we move on to looking at how we put our locations in the game. This is where we kind of get the thing where you've got your taverns and your town squares, your apothecaries, your archives, all things like that. Just so common to all of these cities, because you see what was changed here between this city, which is actually Bastogne, and Brussels is the Deepwood is completely surrounding it now. You can see, and so we are getting to this. What do you do in a city which has no farmland, has no villages, has no supporting supply chain to help it out? And so every city now has something like the underways. You can see over at number 7 there, which is where they started digging down when they couldn't build out, and so they then they actually do all their farming underground and stuff like that. So we wanted to address all of these kind of how are you feeding your populace, how are they getting water, how they're doing things. So you've got a good portion of the populace works underground, away from the light all day, working on these working the dark loam underneath the ground, trying to get their stuff, and just considerations like that we wanted to put throughout the world, building a sort of genuine kind of city that has existed in the Deepwood for 500 years. So then, as we get through this now, oh my goodness, we're so blessed by Francesca Berrold, our cartographer. So she has worked on so many wonderful things before, and she had some time to work with us, and she draws these maps by hand. So she's won awards for these. She's just so talented, and they we start off with a thing. The concept for this piece was called Death in the Deepwood. Right, that was what we wanted her to capture, and basically off of that line, she drew this. And so you have this amazing kind of border with all the different things. You've got the man dead at the root of a tree. You've got death, which is blind over here. You can see the blindfold that means it strikes everybody, young and old. It doesn't care. What you'll notice actually from our maps, this isn't the only map in the game. There's going to be more maps in the game, but what you'll notice is there's little clues as to the type of things you might be finding and fighting in there. So if you've got keen eyes, you might be able to see some clues as to the monsters you might find as you go around. But yeah, so you've got lots of all these things are kind of connected to things of cultural importance. These are the genuine flags and maps and heraldry of different houses and different places inside the Deepwood. So she starts off by drawing this, drawing the border, and then we move to another layer where we go to. She starts drawing out this. So she draws these by hand, all these little houses. I understand it takes her about a month to draw each of these maps in total. As she goes around, you can actually, when you get close enough, you can even see little people and stuff. It's just incredible. So you have like 1,000 houses in this city, and she's drawing places of importance. So we wanted to emphasize some of those places. So we've got things like the archives, churches, palaces. Places of importance are slightly scaled up, so you can see them a bit more, which is how they actually did it in the old maps, because obviously they weren't
worried about
scale. Yeah, they weren't worried about the scientific stuff, more the value and importance of the thing.
In this general direction, area-like space, you will find something important. Here you go.
Yeah. Well, the important things are the important things.
Yes.
I don't care if peasants build 15 houses or 20 houses in the space in between.
Yeah.
So it's key locations.
Yeah. Beautiful work though. Absolutely. Oh my God, that's gorgeous.
So this is when. So once we've done the drawing, we do an ink. Once we've done the drawing, we basically do a final check. Then the inking comes, and then the painting. And like it's just so she's so gutsy, because like, can you imagine now, just like after having done all of that work, then making just one miss of the brush and.
So hang on, she does this one shot.
She does, yeah. This is not digital at all, right? So this is actually a genuine piece of art that she is drawing at this scale, and so a month of work, just getting all this stuff done, and then finally painting over it. And
gorgeous work.
Yeah, just incredible. So we and we then once we've got this amazing piece of art, we then can add the locations to it, and we just go back to finally adding it back in the things.
Okay, please tell me you do that digitally.
Yeah, that bit is touching to do, because it's the only thing that may change in the future is some slight movements, locations. Because it's one of the things you can do with the game when you've got this cool map and you can move around this map. You can have cool stuff like proximity-based clues and visual clues and all kinds of little things.
And if you want to revisit it with a new story, you could do that.
Yeah, exactly. And so we actually, this isn't the only map in the game, but you might spend several chapters here in this particular city going through an arc of a story. And but then, of course, because the game has this legacy element, you're unlocking new stuff as you go along. You're opening an envelope with new maps in it and new kind of mysteries. And this isn't even the only way you navigate around the world, but I won't tell you any more about that.
Tease.
Well, I think 21 gives us a rough idea of how you navigate around part of it, at least. But I have to say the medieval feel to these maps, I absolutely adore. I've talked about this before. Stephen Briggs did something very similar for Terry Pratchett's Discworld and recreated them. And you can read a set of books for years and have kind of an idea of what you imagine a city looks like. And then to see somebody actually sitting down and going, well, we've drawn it out now. And you're going, well, that's a whole other level of madness right there. But it really it grounds the world, and the idea that these are contemporaneous maps that people would actually use to navigate, or you would go to the town hall and be able to see these things on it. I just absolutely love it. It gives it a real sense of reality, I think, over having a modern representation or a digital version of a city map. Something that doesn't have the intricacies, but at the same time the little mistakes and issues where maybe the ink has run out there or it's bled into this color here. It just has a sort of warmth to it.
It's human, isn't it? That's the thing. Like, it feels human against the starkness of the Deepwood and stuff like that. It feels like someone's actually made this. You can see some archivists have actually gone around and painted this at some point.
Somebody who's decided indoor work is better than outdoor work, and I will spend several years illuminating manuscripts and drawing these maps, because it's better to do that inside than to have to go down and farm shrooms in the underways.
That's exactly it.
I see, for myself, anything like this always helps me sort of orientate it within my own imagination whenever I'm playing games or reading novels. Like, I love books that have world maps at the very beginning of them, because from there you'll hear a character mention, oh, we went to here, and you'll go back and look at it. And with this, that you're tracking where and when you're going, you'll be able to look back and go, well, we went there, but we got a bit of information from here that says there's maybe something up there. Should we go back there and look at it again? Or is there something near to there that we maybe missed? It really does help with the storytelling aspects.
I think that's such a core light fantasy, isn't it, with books? Like, why is it that in every light fantasy novel we have the map? It's like, we love it. We absolutely love this map. And so, like, being able to have an excuse to get it into a game, like that thing of having a map and being able to gamify it and make it into a game, is something we've really enjoyed doing. It's such a pleasure to be able to work with an actual cartographer about this.
How many different artists are you working with? Because obviously we've seen a range of, well, you've got the sculptors and the renders there for the miniatures, but there's been all the concept art for the races. Then you've got the finished artwork, and then we've seen, which you haven't, unlucky, we've seen the likes of some of the early card versions and the game mechanics and those sort of things. So there must be a huge bank of artists working on this.
So I mean, to keep consistency, because like the way Donjon and Dongbao work, like their art is genuinely unique. Like it's very difficult to find anyone who could even kind of start getting into that same sort of realm. They've really kind of made that, and that feeling of the Deepwood. So actually, a lot of our backgrounds and concept work of the Deepwood comes from Dongbao, who does that because he just does it just perfectly every time. Characters rendered by Donjon basically uniformly, so they are just working so incredibly hard, making stuff of that quality of that many pieces.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's why you've worked on it for 3 years.
Exactly. We knew we needed that kind of lead time if we wanted to go to that quality level with that many pieces to do it. But we're talking several hundred pieces of art, the kind of level we've been looking at today. That's not including the concept art and all the stuff that comes before it, so it's significant. We've got an amazing graphic designer, Gosden. He himself is this amazing illustrator, and that guy's most happy in life when he's drawing a skull of some kind of, nice. and we skulls are a big part of our world. Like they tend to pile up. So he's just incredible. Like a lot of our card backs and stuff are actually works of art themselves that he's spent weeks and weeks on just making these incredible kind of different things. So wait until you see the injury deck at some point in the future. That's going to be good. That's a nice one of his. We do have like over I think we've got 7 or 8 in total like working on, but they are working so hard to make it do it, and they're just doing a great job.
Well, is there anything else to show there, Gerry?
Is there anything else to show? I think that's us at the end.
Is that us at the end?
Dun, dun, dun.
That's gorgeous.
Yes, this is one of Dongbao's pieces. This is the Witchlight. This is an aurora borealis that covers the world, and So this is just probably new to most people. This particular piece, so we wanted to show it off, and I think we're going to talk about the world at some point, aren't we? And
we definitely need to dive in and actually have a bit of a chat about the world, because I mean, like even this, it helps me place myself within the world, because I can imagine being one of the heroes, walking along the parapets, looking out and just seeing shifts and movements in the deep woods and just going, the hell's that? Do I need to kill that? Do I need to throw a bomb down there? I'm going to the tavern. I'm going for beer. This is a good plan.
That's one way of looking at it, certainly. I love the idea that the aurora borealis just covers the world as well. When the sun goes down, nothing really stops. Everything sort of lights up.
So I suppose the big question is why.
Yeah.
Well,
don't ask questions, you might get answers.
Well, I think the only thing left to do is for us to move along here. Everybody drop your comments in below. I have loved looking at the artwork for this ones. If you have any question for the guys, get them in the comments below. We will move on, and we will see you again very, very soon.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.